So let me congratulate my friend Aditya Tikku as well as the council for organizing this very important event on how to deal with health emergencies of the kind that we are facing today. This is truly unprecedented. Never in known human history we have seen the whole world affected like this. Now you can say yes, there have been instances like flu, Spanish flu, or plague or something. I don't think, of course, that time the record keeping was also not as good as it is today. But even then, today, as per the WHO, more than 200 geographies or countries have been affected at the same time with the same pandemic. This is really truly unprecedented. And again, when the last pandemic came more than a century ago, we didn't have so many people on the planet. And this is also happening at a time when the humanity, all of us, were thinking that we can conquer anything. We have the ability to use technology to take care of any problem in the world. Those days when we had the previous pandemics, didn't have the kind of technologies that we are today using or have access to. And despite this, we are facing this unprecedented humanitarian medical crisis of the magnitude that is unimaginable. So, one part, how do you deal with this problem immediately? And we have to working on that. More importantly, as I think is the topic for today's discussion, how do you prepare ourselves for a future pandemics? Or if I will be permitted to add, also to look at it from what are the lessons that we should have learned from this pandemic, and how do you prepare for facing such kind of emergencies in future? Number one, this could be said to be a very good stress test for the global health system as a whole. We normally do stress tests to find out whether we can withstand a particular crisis. Of course, I don't hope and I don't wish and I pray that we don't have to ever face any crisis of this type in future. So I'm old, so but my future generation also should never face anything like this. But this particular test was very difficult to pass by more or less all the countries in the world. The most advanced countries face a bigger crisis. It is very interesting that G20 countries in the world are accounting for more than 80% of the global GDP. And if you really look at it, the number of people who are affected are most of them are in G20 countries. So we always believed that if you have economic development that can prevent crisis of this type, or if you are a rich country or relatively better off country, you can deal with any problem on hand. But it has proved otherwise. It's not a case. Clearly not a case. Because the countries who are little bit better off than the rest are suffering the most. And therefore, we now need to think very clearly about economic growth does not necessarily guarantee well-being and particularly healthcare of all the people in the country. That means the wealth that you create, how do you actually use that wealth? How do you apportion that wealth? How do you use those resources, financial resources that you gather as a result of economic growth? How do you deploy them is very important. Over the last several years, we have seen that we more or less globally, barring very few countries, and I think they are relatively better off because of that, barring few countries, most of the countries felt that public health is not a responsibility of any particular government or country. Private people must take care of their own health. It's a private health which is important, and therefore you must put your money from your own pocket to take care of it. The taxes that we collect partly will go to medical care, healthcare, but mostly they can go into some other sources because private citizens will take care of themselves. Now, this has belied in a big way this own this whole connotation, this whole premise that public health is not as important as private health. But in fact, public health is far more important. So, firstly, in my opinion, we'll have to now refocus on public health in a big way. There's a good example of one country. Of course, I'm not counting Scandinavia, I'm not counting other countries, but one country, UK, which also suffered a lot. In fact, I would say one of the worst sufferers is UK as well, along with other countries. But US, UK has got the world's largest health system, NHS. National Health Scheme of the UK is one of the largest employer in the world, not just in healthcare employer, general employer. So if you exclude the armies of the world, then NHS may be one of the top class non-army employer of the world. Of course, did that guarantee no casualties, no infection? No. But they could deal with that a little bit better than other countries. So what is important is now we'll have to refocus on public health in a significant way. Secondly, a lesson for us. In India, lately Prime Minister Modi has been investing a lot of his resources, his time, his attention into public health. So there are many programs, many schemes were launched, like TAT, particularly the Ayushman Bharat Yojana, or healthcare schemes, healthcare insurance schemes. Now what we have to do is using the knowledge that we have learned from this pandemic, we must focus on creating rural healthcare as a priority. There are 729,000 villages in India. And though urbanization is rising, still people in rural areas have to depend on healthcare facilities available in that area. We have to upscale them and modernize them in a big way in shortest possible time. We'll have to also modernize our healthcare system in towns because they are the catchment areas. The people, when they get infected or get sick, they run to immediately the nearest town. So I think we'll have to have a three-tier system. The villages should be upgraded, towns should be modernized in a big way, and major cities, obviously, because there's a more population, they'll have to be taken to the top class. So the three-tier system with more or less similar quality of healthcare, but different scale of healthcare system will have to be developed and devised for the entire country. The second issue that we have come across this time is the manpower. You can create physical infrastructure, but you still need manpower. We need more doctors, we need more nurses, we need more healthcare professionals. Now we'll have to actually, in the next few months, I would say, create a new regulation in which we'll be able to bring out top quality. We'll not compromise on quality of education at all, but a number of doctors, the medical students that every education institution will train will have to be increased exponentially. We'll have to also bring in more healthcare professionals, as I said, because while we need doctors, for one doctor, probably we need several more times healthcare professionals, lab technicians, paramedical professionals. All of that must come in a big way, including nurses. And to do that, I think we have a number of institutions in the country who churn out the number of students. We'll have to increase that number, but also allow those educational institutions to do same infrastructure can be used twice or thrice in a day. If you're running one program from morning shift for nursing, you can use the same program in the afternoon for paramedical courses. The same premise you can use in the evening, late evening, for some technicians. Why not? Why should we ask every institution to create additional infrastructure? That is not possible, not feasible. Land is not available, financial resources are limited. So by doing this, in shortest possible time, we can churn out a large number of healthcare professionals. We'll take care of most of the things. Also, we'll have to change our medical course curriculum in a significant way. We must bring in public health as a major component of that. Also, while we train super specialty doctors, then there are specialty, then there are MBBS, and there are also homeopaths and Ayurvedic and others. I think at each level we'll have to change the curriculum to integrate more professional ideas into this, learning from this pandemic. But also, and this is my personal thinking, that at even paramedical level, at nurses level, you have to give a little more content of treatment to the professionals. So they can, while you're working on this, they can provide this professional support. We must have for every taluka in India a life-saving ambulances. I, from my member of parliament, I have given in Andhra Pradesh, in Haryana, in Maharashtra, I've done that. I think we'll have to do it for on a larger scale. One more point, I think the time is limited, but just few points, and this I'm just thinking aloud, Aditya, so you'll permit me, is we need private sector participation into healthcare in a big way. As we have seen now, the government, we always said that must put 6% of the GDP into healthcare. Even if they do that, the demands on healthcare are so large that we'll have to have a private sector participation. But if we tell private sector that put so many restrictions on them, they'll not be able to operate because they are coming with a different motive. Though service is the driving force, but also they have their shareholders, their stakeholders, their private capital, so other issues. We must develop a scheme wherein private hospitals can work on a different principle than public hospitals, but government can give them some subsidies, wherein the cost of healthcare will not be prohibitive. The private sector can benefit because that capital that otherwise government had to invest is invested by somebody else. So government also, as a public health, will also benefit. We can work on such models in a significant way. We have to have a surveillance system in India, wherein even if something happens which can magnify into a pandemic eventually, arrest it at that level itself. So top class surveillance system in different parts of the country. We have to empower the local governments, the Gram Panchayats, Taluka Panchayats, Jilla Parishad. They will have to be given more and more importance into dispensing with healthcare system. State governments and central government must put more resources into the hands of these local institutions. So they'll be able to work on this. We'll have to create non-governmental organizations, not create, but motivate to do this job far better because they have the ability to work with the community in a much, much better way. So overall, we have to learn the lessons in the right way. We have to create a manual of instructions, learning from this, a documentation for every district, what went wrong, why it went wrong, what could have been done, what should have been done, and now learning from that, prepare each and every district plan for infrastructure. Make sure that every district becomes over a period of time completely modernized in terms of healthcare system. That is very, very important. And I think if we do that and also train people, now there is a TV, there is a mass media. You must educate each and every citizen about healthcare in a big way. That is very important because health can be taken care of by people themselves. And that is extremely important in terms of education. If you don't educate them, it will never happen. And then most importantly, I will say, and we always believe that prevention is better than cure. What is the best prevention for a healthcare? My dear friends, care for environment. The problem that we are facing today, even this pandemic, was a virus which came from animal to humans. Animals are losing their habitat. While we're facing this pandemic, we faced a huge storm of a high magnitude into the west coast of India. And I hope not. But there's other one which is likely to hit India on the east coast. Why these oceans are warming, which leads to such type of storms coming up? The frequency, the intensity. Why is it rising? Because of climate change. So the best prevention to avoid any future health emergency is to take care of your own environment. God has provided all this biodiversity, which takes care of all the problems, which takes care of imbalances. But we have created such an imbalance that God has now given up. We must care, my friends, for environment, for nature. That's the best prevention to the healthcare crisis of future. I hope we do all this. I wish Aditya will meet again and discuss this at length because there are many more intelligent scholars and highly experienced people going to speak. So let me stop by wishing once again a great success for this very important event. And as we know, we are talking about this is a anti-terrorism council which is organizing this program, counter-terrorism. The biggest terrorist looks like now it is virus. It's terrorizing all of us. So why not take care of a virus as a terrorist? Nip it in the bud. Don't allow them to rear their head. That's the best way to do. And we are seeing that people can be pushed into poverty because of climate change, because of healthcare crisis. So let us remain richer in thoughts, richer in action to avoid being poorer. Thank you.